Did not sign up to the offer from Melbourne was that the deal included one non-negotiable term, that they would relinquish housing management to the Northern Territory Government. We understand the need and desire for economic development and empowerment in Australia's remote communities, working with Indigenous people, not taking away hard-won land rights. Hypocrisy.
Short memory.
2 years later, she's taken that land, she's gone back on her word, she's made it clear that the hard-won rights that were gained by Aboriginal people, the government wants to take away. So, when Labor came into power in 2008, Tangentyere came up again, and Johnny Macklin said, we'll provide you with this money, and we'll negotiate with you, and we'll make sure you are part of any housing development in the town camps. Tangentyere said, great, let's negotiate, let's work this out, this is good for us. However, soon after, the government announced its SIP program where to build housing they must take the land for 40 years. They also began a campaign discrediting Tangentyere Council, blaming the underfunding, the poverty in the communities on the council itself. Not taking any responsibility for decades of underfunding. Not taking responsibility for the fact that many people in these communities don't have any running water. That they don't receive things like postal services, garbage disposal. This is all done by the Tangentyere Council on a meagre budget. Yet the government came out in the media and blamed the council for this. Discredited them, said that you're not capable of running your own organisations. This is an argument Aboriginal people have suffered for decades from white governments. That you're not capable of running your own communities, that you're not capable of building houses in your communities and maintaining them. Yet all the reports have shown, the government reports have shown, that these people have been desperately underfunded. They've also shown, time and time again, until the most recent one, the Productivity Commission report, which also stated this, that the most effective outcomes for Aboriginal people have come when they're running their own organisations, when they have ownership over their organisations, when they have a real say in the policies developed. These are coming from the government's own advisors, from the government's own bureaucrats. Yet they choose not to listen to this. They choose to say, we know best for Aboriginal people, we're the only ones that can do it, and we need to take their land to achieve this. So we stand here today to keep up the fight to defend Aboriginal land rights, to make sure that mining interests, that ideas that Aboriginal people must assimilate and live like white people, do not overcome Aboriginal people's land rights and control over their communities. Because this is a practical thing as much as a political thing. The government doesn't have a leg to stand on politically or on any of its evidence-based studies. So we must continue this fight until Aboriginal people have real control over their communities, have real control over their land, because that's where the real outcomes will come from. That's when Indigenous health will improve, that's when Indigenous education will be improved, and that's what has happened in homeland communities around the Northern Territory that have had control over their land and over their community organisations. this is just the beginning. The Labor government's made it clear that they'll continue this around Australia. The Northern Territory intervention policies that were criticised by the Labor government when Howard put them in are now being spread across Australia by the Labor government.
Sharon Fibrace is my name, and I've been around the Aboriginal movement for easy 20 odd years. I chaired the Indigenous Land Corporation in Canberra, the Aboriginal Studies Centre at Monash University. This is just the beginning of a major and significant issue, just not at the Victorian level, the local level, but at the national level. But I just want to say that as we're looking at discrimination, my biggest concern recently has been discrimination, the acts of discrimination that continue against Aboriginal people. A lot of us think that having waved the hands in Parliament, having walked the bridges of the Sydney Harbour, that the issues of Aboriginal people are resolved. And whereby we have a government that appears to be attentive to the needs of Aboriginal people, that are using the right language. But we've got to look at what is really hitting the ground, what is really impacting us as Aboriginal people. And I think the significant issue here today is the loss of our rights. The Northern Territory intervention is a loss of human rights. And as Aboriginal people, we cannot have that, and we refuse to accept it, and we're taking action against it. The greatest thing we can ever do is exercise our freedom of speech, our will to speak and our will to say that we will not agree with this.